Previously on the Cane Creek Kitsuma, I just bolted it into my specialized status and I was 100% impressed with this shock. So the Cane Creek Kitsuma Coil has all the DNA of some of the best coil shocks I have ever rode. So in this video, we're gonna get very nerdy on the bench. Then I'm gonna bolt it into my e-bike and see if it's a world-class damper. So first things first, we gotta thank today's sponsor. It's the Facebook Marketplace. Browse your last 5 hobbies and waste all your evenings looking for new shocks. So this one came from Facebook Marketplace and it was advertised as didn't work and it was brand new on my frame. And very promising when it showed up. It's nice and clean. And the shock rebounds or comes out of its place. So it does look like it is a brand new shock. That was a disclaimer, not a sponsored segment. Now the first thing we gotta know about Cane Creek products, they're extraordinarily hard to set up and I'm gonna decode that in this video. So on the first ride, this is what I did. Cane Creek should basically send their shocks out with something like this. It's all the clickers and numbers. And if you know the geometry of the leverage ratios of your bike, you can get a pretty amazing setup on this. And that's why I named it the best specialized shock I've ever rode. I am American, but I'm kind of biased towards European products. Now, this is kind of a boutique rare shock and it was missing the lower spring clip. So I reached out to Cane Creek and guess what? They had one. So you don't have to fear too much about getting spare parts for this if you're American. If you live around the world, the high speeds are the big ones and those are a little bit hard to hear the click, but they do click. The low speeds, they click fine. So this is how I got such an amazing setup. Writing down all the clickers on this thing. And I was just basically able to dial it. So we got the 2-position climb lever, fully open, low speed compression, full soft. High speed compression, full soft. High speed rebound, full fast. One day I'll have a real shock dyno, but you really do learn a lot by pressing a shock down onto the Harbor Freight $10,000 dyno. So to activate the damper on the Cane Creek Kitsuma double barrel, or whatever it's called. Oof. I think that's the class leader right there. 20 pounds of pressure. With 23 pounds of damper activation force, that's why the Kitsuma felt so good on specialized bikes. So I'm basically reinforcing video number 1. Okay, she's going into the travel. It's not 23, it's more like sub 20. So we got the big guns here, boys and girls. Woo! Does that mean that Kitsuma is better than the Eastoria? Probably not. But one lesson to learn here is one of the secret ingredients in the secret sauce is a small stanchion. The Kitsuma features a 10 millimeter, I didn't look that up. It's roughly 10 millimeters from looking at it. While the Eastoria has a super hefty 14 millimeter shaft that I do prefer. So the smaller the shaft, the less resistance it has going inside of there. And that's one of the reasons that air shocks suck. Now this one is in excellent condition, so I'm not gonna rebuild it, but let's take a look at the repair manual, what makes the Kitsuma super, super unique. Here's the compression valving on the Cane Creek Kitsuma. So we have low speed, low speed, low speed, low speed. It doesn't have enough high speed compression damping stacked on the main piston. That's pretty normal for production shocks. Here's the main piston on the Kitsuma. It's kind of an old school restrictive main piston, but as we just saw, it's got like no resistance going into the travel. Now, when I scrolled through here, I was kind of blown away. So when we take a look here, there's only shims on the bottom of the main piston. So when the shock is pushing up, these are gonna be compression shims on the back of the main piston. So essentially all the rebound on the Kitsuma is created out of the block right here. So here's the poppet valves that create the rebound. So the whole rebound damping curve is created out of poppet valves. It's probably the only shock on the market that does this. So here's our clickers on the Cane Creek Kitsuma, and here's my setup for the status. So we're gonna create a new setup. So what I basically learned from the first ride on this shock is basically you can this feels like custom tuning your shock with your thumb while you're on your bike. So that is a double-edged sword as far as you could get very lost in all these clickers, or you can make an absolutely legendary setup. So let me put the camera off and focus on this. So here's the range, high-speed compression. We have 14 clicks. It's kind of interesting they put so many clicks on the high-speed rebound. So we're middle high-speed rebound, low-speed rebound will be in the middle of the 10 total clicks. Low-speed compression, we're gonna go 4 clicks because that's about half. That's because the way the Rocky Mountain is set up. With high-speed compression, we're only gonna give it 4 because I learned on the status the high-speed compression is very powerful, has a lot of range. So let me tell you the difference between single and twin tube damping. So this is the new Fox float. I have too many shocks, DHX2. So we're gonna look at the small bump sensitivity on a very small bump sensitivity friendly frame. Sorry, this isn't in the Fox marketing. So this is a single tube damper because Fox couldn't get their twin tube shock right. We can see it's sensitive, but it's not super sensitive. That's because of the single tube damper. Oopsie. Okay, let's look at the difference between single and twin tube damper. It's super supple, bro. Super supple off the top, bro. Super supple off the top, bro. So it's gonna have insane levels of small bump sensitivity, but the Rocky Mountain frame already is super plush off the top. So this coil shock on the status is pronounceably more plush. So it's all about your suspension foundation when picking a shock. So we're gonna see how this goes. I wasn't able to put so many miles on the status because it's an Amish bike and I kind of need the motor okay, quick dyno run. Let's check it out. Oh, it's super plush. It feels very promising. Look at that. Butter. So right away, the Kitsuma is very soft in the back, so definitely an upgrade from any air shock. The question is the damper gonna be any good with its poppet style valves and lack thereof of shim stacks for the compression control via the adjuster? There is compression shims on the main piston that I showed you earlier inside the repair manual. Okay, into climb position lever 1. It's a little bit more firmer than the Fox firm mode in position 1. The bike definitely feels like it has more, not get muddy too quick, more control or over the rear. I felt no need for it on the e-bike, of course, but so it's definitely more efficient. So we'll go to full lock and try it out on the e-bike. We're gonna call this is the fire road setting. It feels like I'm on a hardtail. And hopefully the shock actually has a mechanical blow by in case you heavy compress it with the super lock on. But okay, that is enough of the firm mode. Let's go back to full open and full comfort. All right, we're gonna test the Kitsuma on 3rd grade and honor roll. These are super green level fun trails. If you could warm up to see if my out of the garage setup is good on the Kitsuma. That's what we do. So we'll go a little faster through this green jump line. Obviously, I'm not the most talented rider, but when you're not as talented, it makes equipment extra important. Okay, going a little faster down there. Feels like I want to slow the rebound down, but actually we're going to do 5, 6, 7. So it's half of middle high-speed compression, and then 1, 2 more low-speed compressions. Just a little extra compression. Don't slow the rebound down because it felt good, but a little faster, need a little more control. Ooh. Okay, extra compression is just super impressive. We're gonna go hit a blue jump line. Shock felt pretty good, but I'm really not the best rider. And I actually prefer to not hit jumps that big. I like to have fun on basic trails because the goal is to stay out of the hospital. So going for not crashing, we're gonna check out the high-speed rebound. The Kitsuma is pretty shocking because cranking the high-speed rebound slower is actually super effective because of the range. So it's a little bit of a problem because you could get into trouble with the clickers and kind of get lost in it, but it ultra helped me stay safe on that jump line. And I don't even like riding trails like that. After a savage hour climbing, I found a little chunder zone. I'm gonna set the camera up and see what this coil does and what they're intended for. So this is the precise reason you ride a coil, because it just inspires confidence when you take the wrong line. And bouncing back to what I said earlier, if you don't have the skill, the equipment really matters. So after taking the right line choice, this is a very standout coil in the chunk, but this was just a short section of trail. So we're gonna hit this blue jump line, following my friend, so hopefully I can hit all these. Total standout piece of suspension for the mediocre rider. So let's see what it's part 2 on this trail. Okay, just went on a 59-minute side quest. My microphone fell out of my jacket, so it's a $100 ride. So when I was on the side quest, the shock started making some noise kind of intermittently, and it started raining, so the bike's a mess. So it's not doing it now, but inside of the spring there's a whole bunch of like scratch marks. So I'm not sure if like some dirt or mud got inside of here. And as far as the clearance on the damper versus the spring, it's a pretty tight clearance. So the rebound I made incredibly slow, and it's kind of dull on the easy trails. It's just impossible to find a middle ground because there's so much range on this shock. So it's becoming a little bit of a problem. Mostly because this place, it's not my favorite because it's just like massive jumps. And I just like to do like tech trail rides in the backcountry. So this trail, I'm gonna leave the rebound alone. And no, actually we're gonna speed the rebound up and try to find some kind of middle ground. Because right now it's got perfect control for the biggest jumps I want to hit, and it's a little dull on the more basic trails I was riding down there. And as far as the damper being scratched, well, if it starts again, I'll pull the camera up. A little bit out of control, but the same dead feeling. A lot of suspension is like your mood, and I'm kind of in a bad mood. I just lost a $100 microphone. Tire pressure, among other things, can totally affect the suspension, your perception of it. So I'm not going to draw any conclusions quite yet. This is not the best coil shock I've ever rode on pounding blue flow trails. So there's kind of a case for riding air shocks, to be perfectly honest, because what happens is in a certain environment, the shock just spikes up into its travel, and it just doesn't have the support, even though there's such a massive range on the compression and the rebound. So to define the Cane Creek Kitsuma, with great power comes great responsibilities. So yesterday I was in a rush, so I forgot my setup chart. So I started out with 5 clicks of low speed compression. No, that's the status. So high speed, we'll start with rebounds. So there's 14 clicks of high speed rebound, 10 clicks. So when I get up there and find the microphone, I'll do another setup and then look for the loam trails. Hey, she's an expensive girl. Oh, there it is. Hopefully it still works. Let's try to turn it on. Didn't expect it to be so freaking cold in May, but I got every single piece of clothing I have on. So that can affect how the suspension is going to be, because it's probably 40 degrees. I have gloves and 2 hoodies on. So I flipped the bike upside down. We're going to check the clickers, because yesterday turned into an absolute clicker disaster. I don't want to scare you away from this shock, but it is not the easiest shock I ever set it up. I had the low speed rebound in like the almost full fast setting and the high speed rebound in the fully slow setting. So that just basically creates an imbalance in the shock, and that's probably why yesterday went good in the beginning. Felt pretty good in the beginning, and towards the end it was absolute rubbish. So you can destroy this shock with the setup. 4. You know what? I'm just going to put them all into the middle, actually. So let's do the parking lot bounce test. Check out the clouds. Ooh. Okay, let's check it. So it's back to plushing it. So if you put the low speed rebound too slow, it actually makes it harsh. The rebound range, it still feels too fast. So low speed compression. So I'm going to go 2 clicks from the middle, because it's just so much range because the way they create the rebound damping. Woo, Coil! So the Kitsuma is pretty lively. Or Coil. So today we're in the backcountry, and this is like the primo section. Look at this. Woo! I like to call this the road less traveled. So I'm going to film this section, and this is why I literally have this bike, because extra traction, big wheels, wet roots, and this is going to be a standout, but we'll see what it looks like. As expected, absolutely stand out in every department on that loamy natural styled trail, but I don't have any water with me, so it's come in and then you got to go out because you don't know the way, and water and battery range and whatever else. On like a 5-mile road climb up to a moto trail. So this is a really fun trail. It's like nice and open. I just pulled over because the Kitsuma is like going into the upper leagues of shocks right now because it's so active. It's got this pop, play, traction, everything I want in a coil shock, and it does have 2 of the secret sauces, a small stanchion and a bladder in the piggyback, and it's just an absolute standout on this section of trail. So it's not super technical, it's actually like kind of a moto trail, but it's flowing with big compressions. You want extra traction, and let me show you how it looks. What an epic section. So unfortunately, I just did a 5-mile road climb up there. Top section was absolutely legendary. Almost ready to draw some conclusions on the Kitsuma. But the trail, the bottom half of the trail, the flow zone, was closed for loggings. So after climbing the road, I get to climb the road back down to the car. Okay. So completely off topic when it comes to shocks, you gotta check out where I'm riding. So basically riding through a cloud in the mountains here. Woo! So the video is called Adventures with the Kitsuma. So look at this cloud. It's just like coming up here. All right, that was a legendary experience on the Kitsuma. Kind of lost up here in the mountains. The Kitsuma has big mountain character. If you have chunky, gnarly trails like the Pacific Northwest or North Carolina where it's built, the Appalachians Mountains, I think they really build their stuff to eat chunk, and that thing eats chunk like nothing else. So I was thinking about what's good and what's bad about that shock. So it's kind of an undecided question as far as the rebound damping. So I want to remove my mediocre skill level from the equation. So to give it a proper analysis, is it an amazing damper? I'm gonna ride it around the test track next to my house because I'm very familiar with it, and the trails, the jump lines I did yesterday down here, like I'm not familiar with them. And I felt kind of out of my comfort zone because I want to give like an honest with myself review of the damper, because right now I'm going to say the rebound damping sucks. But the biggest, largest value proposition with the Kitsuma is you can basically, so I have, totally relevant here, I have like one of the best and one of the worst suspension platform bikes. The Status is one of the worst. The Rocky is pretty amazing. The Kitsuma went from the Status to the Rocky with a twist of my thumb. Like granted, I did spend 2 days getting lost in the clickers. There's no need to open up the shock. So basically you're moving the whole entire damping curve with your thumb because they created it that way. So basically I was looking at the shock when I was loading it up, and the springs on the damper are extraordinarily close. So if you're in these nasty mud riding conditions, it may scratch into the damper, and that is a Cane Creek native spring. Like that is the right spring for that shock. It's not a huge deal. This has been a fun video because I was like adventuring and stuff, but now I'm gonna go kite surfing, and then I'll check back in after I ride around the test track to give the final evaluation on the Kitsuma. So I'm super excited to put these on. So the test track basically removes the skill factor in the damper evaluation, and all the other shocks have been gauged on this 1/4 mile section of trail. Mostly it's just like my dyno, literally. It's a 3-foot hook to flat and a 6-foot hook to flat, and it tests the damper deep into the travel. So I'm pretty sure the compression damping on that shock is money. It's more of a rebound evaluation, because the first day, yesterday, I was kind of all over the place with those trails I wasn't comfortable with and a little bit above my wanting to ride level. So let's get dressed and go. The test track doesn't lie, since I've rode all the dampers through there. The compression damping out of the Kitsuma, it has a massive range, so it's similar in fashion to RockShox, opening, close. It's not the worst, it's not the best. Could have saved myself 2 epic days of adventure and just rode around here. But I did discover this thing is legendary and has next level comfortability. I make up words as I go. So the second stage of the test track is 2 6-foot jumps. So I'm very familiar with them. And it's kind of like the rebound, where I would set the rebound, because it's a little bit faster, but the jumps aren't too big. So let's see it. So it basically depends on how you want to look at it. The Kitsuma is the best of the cheap dampers and the worst of the best dampers. So it's going to put, I know exactly where to put this. The rebound damping is a little bit inconsistent. Like run 1, super dialed, a little warmed up, went through it again. Nose heavy, so it's push and pull rebound. There's no shim stacks, giving a nice tapered linear feel to it. Like if you run a little bit faster, it might be a little bit inconsistent. So the biggest complaint really is in the rebound, probably because of lack of shim stacks maybe. But the trade-off is the massive range, and you can just put it on any bike. So this is exactly where I placed the Cane Creek Kitsuma Coil Shock during the Coil Shock ranking list, assuming I had never rode it. So it's not too far off where I'm going to place it in its final position. Right ahead of the RockShox Vivid. This has extreme comfort. And I will clean up this spreadsheet one day. But if you want to see what really makes a Coil Shock amazing, you got to click this video on your screen.